Hey everyone, this is Katie with Empowering Astrology, and this is your weekly live look at the astrology. It's February 15th to 21st, 2021. Thank you all for joining me tonight, and also thank you to those who are watching on the replay. So we kind of gather together every week to talk about the astrology, to look ahead, to see what themes we're navigating this week and how maybe this week connects to a much bigger story. Because astrology is about time. It's about the energy of time. It's about our relationship with time. It's how we live symbolic time. So this is why astrology is rarely a yes or no. It doesn't say what you have in your bank account, doesn't tell me what you ate for lunch. It sort of talks about energy and how you live sort of this shape of energy. As an aside, I might have a little doggy visitor going back and forth at some point in case you're like, who is that? It's not mine. It's a good friend of mine's dog that I'm dog sitting. But anyway, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York, and this is Empowering Astrology. And what I was saying a few moments ago, is that astrology teaches us about how to live. So here we are this week, February 15th to 21st. We are getting to the end of the zodiac. So we're actually going to move into Pisces season on February 18th. So just, was that Thursday? So when we get to the end of the zodiac, we are starting to connect with themes and archetypes and energies that are about life on a bigger level. How do you connect to friends? How do you connect to your community? Who are your friends? Do you not have friends? So we're navigating Aquarius season. We actually just had an Aquarius new moon last week. We had 6 planets in Aquarius. It's a lot of planets in Aquarius. So we're still in this lunar month that's all about connection, social connection, connection to the bigger picture, societal connections, equity, justice, fairness, balance, also disconnection. Because every sign, every planet has 2 sides to it. And, when we get to Aquarius, we're navigating the, connection versus disconnection. Sort of that high side of Aquarius where it's all about, like I said in last week's broadcast, like this kind of 1960s peace and love. But then there's this slightly darker side. There's a shadow side to Aquarius where we don't feel like things are fair or equitable. We don't have friends. We don't have connection. We are distanced. We are separated. But how do we, knowing that, try to work towards the other side of the sign while knowing that there's 2 sides to every sign? When we get to Pisces season, which we will later this week, and I'll go a little bit more into depth on Pisces in a few moments, we're getting to the end. What is the end? The end of a story, the end of a life, the end of a journey. What did we learn? Pisces is a sign that's ruled by Jupiter. It talks about both the faith that we needed to go through each zodiac sign and to live this journey and this story and to learn the things that we need to know. And what sort of knowledge did we accumulate? And when you get to Pisces, it's like there's the other side of Jupiter, which is the Sagittarius side of Jupiter. It's like I know it because I went to college, or I know it that I read in a book, or I know it because I went to another country. There's a sense of objective wisdom and knowledge. But when you get to Pisces, it's subjective, it's internal. You know it because you know it. You feel it, you lived it. Nobody can take that away from you. So when we get to Pisces season, we are soul searching. We are looking for those answers. We are trying to sort of gather all the wisdom that we accumulated since the last Aries season, so that would have been March of 2020, and sort of piece together what does it all mean, and then transmit it, live it, integrate it. So something I was saying earlier is astrology is about time, how we live it. How do we, I tell over and over again, the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. So I love sort of piecing together different narratives. And I do want to go a little bit into this week because, and I've been talking about this over and over again, but it's important. So you hear me talk about again and again the astrology that began in May of 2018, March of 2019. These were the 2 months that Uranus went into Taurus for the first time since the early 1940s. And you're like, whoa, wait, 1940s. Uranus is a planet that takes 84 years to go around the sun. Ergo, it takes 84 years to go around the zodiac. So it'll spend 7 years in each sign of the zodiac. And what is Uranus? It's awakenings, it's reinvention, it's a demand for authenticity. We absolutely 100% have to be ourselves. We have to be real to ourselves. We have to be real to the life that we came here to live. And Uranus will sometimes try to get us out of our way. And that's where sometimes things shake up. So when Uranus is in the sign, we are shaking up that archetype. So it's been in Taurus since May of 2018, March of 2019. And for everybody, Taurus is about stability, grounding, money, value, our relationship both to the material world and these kind of bigger themes around value and, like I said, safety, like, do I have enough? Fertility, Taurus is a very earthy, sensual sign. And of course, Taurus means different things to different people, depending on our sun sign or even our rising sign. But that part of our chart has been seeing a shakeup since May 2018, March 2019, and maybe something happened then. Maybe something really did truly shake your world, turn things upside down, make you see yourself differently, make you see your self-worth differently. But that was the beginning of a story that's going to take you all the way to 2026, 2027, or is it 2020, 2025, 2026? And this is the thing about a story, is that we only have different pieces. It makes sense in hindsight. That's why when we got to the end of Uranus in Aries back in 2018, 2019, it was when you look back, you can piece together all the different parts of the story, and it made sense. At least I think. Maybe you feel differently, but a story opened 2 years ago, and maybe it was dramatic. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was happening behind the scenes. So this is something that I've been saying about the astrology of 2021. 2021 is the year that this story sort of comes to the forefront. Now, the past couple of years, we were dealing with Saturn, we were dealing with Pluto. It was a very different narrative, and yet we had this whole other craziness happening in Taurus. And now here we are. Now it's February of 2021, and Saturn, now that it's in Aquarius, which it went into Aquarius on December 17th. Aquarius and Taurus are what we would say in astrology. They're square. They are 90 degrees apart from each other. If you look at a zodiac wheel, you can sort of trace out a square between Taurus and Leo and Scorpio and Aquarius. These are what are called the fixed signs, the 4 fixed signs. Fixed energy is just like it sounds. It's fixed. It's meant to sort of fix things in our material, physical, manifested world. We need things fixed. We need like a home, a roof over our head. We want that fixed. I mean, unless you're nomadic, of course. We need food. We're human beings. We have bodies. They have needs. We need relationship. We need connection. We need to express who we are and to, like that Leo, kind of find the joy and creativity and passion of life. And then Aquarius is one of those signs that helps us make sense of it all. It's a little bit more on an intellectual level, but Aquarius talks about systems and networks and these kind of big ideas, and these are the things that you want fixed. It creates stability in the world, but then you've got a planet like Uranus in a fixed sign. Uranus is like, let's just turn things upside down. So you can imagine that this fixed energy is not so fixed. It's not unlike, seismic or tectonic plates moving back and forth. So this week, Saturn and Uranus made their first square. So they'll be making their first square at 7 degrees of Aquarius on February 17th. There'll be 3 this year. There'll be one June 14th. I don't remember the degree offhand. And then on December 24th. It's roughly between 7 and 13 Aquarius Taurus, so 17, 13 fixed is a little bit of an intermediate technical point, but for those who know their astrology, you can locate those degrees in your chart. And if you have planets that are around those degrees, things might be shaken back and forth for you. We'll see. But the idea is that when Uranus went into Taurus, something new started to come into shape and form. Like I said, perhaps dramatically, perhaps not so dramatically. And then here we are, Saturn. Saturn's the planet of manifestation. It's the planet of matter. It's the planet that kind of makes things solid, whether it's something physical, Saturn and Capricorn. Capricorn, the structures, the boundaries of our natural world, or something solid in terms of an idea. Aquarius is an air sign. So here we are, and Saturn wants to put form to something that began 2 years ago, or 2, 3, wow, I don't even know what year it is anymore. It's 2021. So how, something is starting to come up and demand your attention, and maybe you started a new life a couple of years ago, and then Saturn is saying, like, okay, great, let's now make this real, because that's what Saturn does. Let's put this into form. Let's define it. Let's commit. These are all Saturn words that Saturn loves. But then here's Uranus, and Uranus is saying to each and every one of you, it has to be absolutely 100% true to who you are. You cannot fake it anymore. If you are in a relationship, if you are in a career, or if you are in a home, or if you're in some sort of situation that you're trying to, like, square peg in a round hole, fit yourself into something that doesn't fit anymore, Uranus is like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. And this is where you might see a little bit more of a seismic shift this week. Everybody's going to feel this differently. This is why I was saying earlier, like, astrology is just time. I don't know how you're going to live it, because you're the secret ingredient. Your life, is your life. And all we know is that Saturn and Uranus have their own agenda. And that on paper, these are two radically different agendas. Saturn wants to keep things nice and easy and balanced and sustainable for the future. And Uranus is like, this is not going to work. This is not who you are. This is you're killing yourself. This is whatever. ... So this is what we're doing this week, and these two planets are in two different corners of our life. And I've said this in previous videos, so I'm at the risk of repeating myself again. I'm just going to go quickly through the zodiac so you have a refreshed understanding of what these two areas are. Now, Aries. These two areas are: Taurus is your money sign. It's a sign of value, worth, self-worth, material stability. Taurus is saying, or Uranus is saying, how you earn a living, the money you have, your bigger idea about money and worth and value, it has to be absolutely true to you. It can't be societies, it can't be mom and dad's, it can't be partners. And then you have Saturn over in the sign of friends, community, future, looking ahead, goals and wishes and ambitions. So you need to make sure that your friends, your community, your ambitions, your goals are 100% your values, not anybody else's values. And maybe you need to take some radically big steps to kind of shift in how you earn a living, or maybe even on a more conceptual level. Then moving on to Taurus. Uranus and Taurus for the next 5 years. You already know this energy. You are in the midst of completely reinventing yourself, really shaking up your life and realizing where you are stuck in yourself. Taurus, I love you. I say this as Scorpio, but sometimes you get stuck. You don't want to leave behind what's comfortable and safe, but you have the planet of anything but comfortable and safe in your sign for the next few years. So you got to take some big leaps right now, Taurus. Then you have Saturn in your career signs. Saturn is saying, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And Taurus is like, but. So how do you resolve this tension? Because Saturn is saying you got to, figure out your place in the world. Maybe you're taking that next big step up in your career. Maybe you've made so many personal changes. Now it's just the natural progression of things that you take your life in a new direction. Gemini. So this is a little bit of an existential, internal tug of war, so to speak. You've got Uranus sort of turning a light on your blind spots. It's helping you to open up to things that maybe you haven't been open up to. Spirituality is something beyond this world, your dreams, your intuition. And then you have Saturn in the sign of, well, what does this mean? What do we believe in? If you had to put it on paper, if you had to like say it in front of a group, what would you say? Is it a philosophy? Is it a religion? Is it something of your own making? So there's a big sense of like really trying to resolve some sort of internal ideological or philosophical back and forth that's going on right now. Cancer. So this is happening in the part of your chart that talks about groups and communities, and you, Cancer, are in a time where you are opening up to how you connect to people. You're maybe having people come into your life, friends, community that are completely different than before, and that's going to kind of shake things up. But you have Saturn in the part of your chart that really is touching on some deep emotions. Am I safe? Can I trust people? Can I trust my friends? Can I trust my community? Maybe there's a lot of back and forth. Maybe you're having to really look at where you sort of disconnect from people in general. Saturn is in the part of your chart that is making you, I call it the eighth room. It's like this time in your life where you have to sort of go into the eighth room. You have to face yourself. You have to deal with the past. You have to deal with the things that you haven't been dealing with. So there might be some back and forth between these two areas. We did Cancer, Leo. So Leo, Taurus is your career sign. You are in the midst of completely reinventing your career. Maybe your career will be something completely different than it was 2 years ago. Maybe you're doing what you're doing, but you're doing it bigger. Uranus is just like, don't hold yourself back. Leo, you're the sign of creativity. You're the sign of self-expression. Doesn't mean that you are meant for the stage. I know Leo has this reputation for being like naming lights, marquee. I know there's shy lions out there, so to speak, but whatever you are doing in the world, it has to be 100% authentic to who you are. And then there's Saturn and your relationship signs. So Saturn is saying like, all right, let's do some serious relationshiping. Let's make sure that how we connect with people is equitable and balanced. Maybe you're seeing a lot of personal and relationship milestones right now. And as maybe a new partner comes in, or you and a partner take the next step in your relationship, or just you and people in general, that might shift your career. That might not shift, not necessarily career, but the direction you take your life in, because that part of the chart, yes, it's career, but it's almost like on a ship, which way is the rudder steering things? Like, what's your higher ambition? And so maybe people are coming into your life that are directly interfacing with your professional life, or your ambitions, or the title you want after your name, or the role that you want to play in the world. Maybe you're in a relationship and partner is not on the same page as you in what you want to do in your professional life. So like I said, this is going to be different for everybody depending on you. Virgo. So this is all sort of coming down in a part of let me take a step back. Uranus is in the part of your chart that talks about faith, truth, meaning, and wisdom. You are 2 years into a bigger story of trying to open up your eyes. See things differently, see the world differently, see yourself in the world differently. Maybe you're coming into contact with philosophies or religions or faiths or truths that are rocking your world right now. You have Saturn in the part of your chart that talks about health and wellness and how you take care of your body, projects, and work. So maybe your relationship with your body, or your relationship with health, or even the relationship with the work that you do is directly influenced, for better or for worse, with the beliefs that you have. Maybe you don't think you can be ... healthy. Maybe you can't think you can do whatever in the world. Maybe you're afraid to be in your body. Maybe there's a story of trauma, and this is trying to awaken how you see things and how you sort of occupy your life. Libra. So Libra, this is sort of taking place back and forth between a part of your chart. Saturn is in, we'll call it the fifth room. The fifth room is the room where you go to connect and to express who you are. And this is kind of personality, this is identity. It can be joy, it can be fun, but Saturn is saying you have to get serious about yourself. I say this because somebody commented on my Instagram. It's like, well, Libra is supposed to be having fun right now. And I'm like, but Saturn's in the fun room. I'm pretty sure nobody's having fun when Saturn's in the fun room. Saturn can say you can have fun, but you have to do all the work first. You have to create the container for fun. But it's just a little bit more of a heavier time, Libra. And I think even more so because you have Uranus in 8th room, the room where you have to face yourself, the room where you have to awaken to all the deep, dark facets of who you are. And I think that there's this interplay that's going on right now where you have to take a serious look at your inner saboteur. If this is the time for fun and something's always getting in the way, or if this is the time of you really revealing and expressing who you are, or taking your talents seriously, but you keep going to start something and then maybe you stop. Why? Maybe you have to do that deep inner work, that deep revelation of self for you to see why there's this back and forth right now. It's a little bit about the self and the self that you know, maybe the self that you're afraid to fully inhabit versus the self that you don't know, the self that is the saboteur, the self that is the shadow. We all have this, speaking as a Scorpio. Speaking of Scorpio, so Scorpio, this is about relationships on one level, of course. Uranus has been in your relationship sign since 2018, 2019. This is a time when you have to open up to other people in a way that you have not been opened up to. Maybe you have met Uranus. Maybe somebody has come into your life who is a stand-in for the energies. This is the thing about astrology. Sometimes people come into our lives and they are like the embodiment of Saturn or the embodiment of Uranus or, God forbid, the embodiment of Pluto, because you now need to connect with people differently. You now need to interact with people differently. And Scorpio has so much guard. It's just part of being a Scorpio. So you might, if you're not in a relationship, maybe in the past couple of years, people, romantic or otherwise, have come into your life that are completely different than before. Meanwhile, Saturn is in the bottom of your chart. Saturn is saying, hey, it's time to settle down. It's time to think about putting down roots. It's time to think about home and family and where is home? Who is family? Of course, every Scorpio is going to experience this differently. Side note, this past new moon, we had 6 planets in Aquarius. And like I said earlier, like sometimes each planet can be a person, like literally. So I think since the new moon, there's been, if you include a puppy dog who's out of the frame right now, there's been 5 people that have come by. And I'm like, who's going to be the 6th? But anyway, so busy. It was a busy new moon. So there is this, people coming in, thinking about partnership, thinking about new times in your life, thinking about home and family. Sagittarius. So Uranus has been in part of your chart about health and wellness and taking care of your body and work and projects since 2018, 2019. And maybe you've seen some big shifts in your day-to-day life in the past couple of years. This is a time when maybe you have made some radical changes in your diet. You are seeing your day-to-day life in a different way. You are interfacing with your day-to-day life in a different way. Maybe your work is completely different than it was 2 years ago. Meanwhile, you have Saturn in the part of your chart that talks about voice, communications, ideas, and learnings. It's sort of like this back and forth between how are you going to do day-to-day life? Maybe you're having to make new choices. Maybe you're having to think of new systems. Maybe you're having to organize your life in a completely different way. Like maybe your human life was a certain way, and now the astrology is saying, I think it might be better if your human life is in a different shape. It just might be more sustainable. Certainly 2020, 2021 has made us think about our day-to-day life in a very different way. We can't do things the way we were doing them a year ago, which is kind of bananas. By the way, this is your friendly reminder that March is in 2 weeks. Maybe even less than that if I did the math. then you have Saturn, the part of your chart, like I said, that's about ideas, information, learning. You're in a time, Sagittarius, where you have to take your voice seriously. You have to take your choices seriously. You have to take seriously everything that comes out of your mouth, everything that comes out of your mind, every navigation, every turn, and then seeing how that has an impact, for better or for worse, on your daily life. So maybe you're making very different choices about how you take care of your body, going back to that point. So there you go. Capricorn. So this back and forth is sort of happening between the part of your chart that talks about money. Now you have Saturn in your money sign. Aquarius is your money sign. So Saturn is kind of looking over the books, looking over the receipts, and wants to see how you're spending your money. Wants to see how you're earning a living, how you are taking seriously this whole material stability thing. So on one hand, you're having to kind of do a lot of grown-up stuff. You're having to kind of get your physical life in order. But meanwhile, you have Uranus in the part of your chart that talks about, who are you? Do you actually know who you are? And then since Saturn's in the part about self-worth, maybe you have to sort of look at how self-worth has impacted how you express who you are. Maybe you haven't felt safe to express who you are. And this is a time when Uranus is really trying to get you to open up to who you really are. And when I say who you really are, not what your parents want, not what a partner wants, not what a friend wants, not what community wants. It's like, who are you really? And how do you feel safe to actually be the person you always were? Aquarius. So this is the part of your chart that talks about you. So Saturn is in your sign. Saturn will be in your sign until March of 2023. You are growing up. You're getting older. You're having to take on new responsibilities. It's the start of a 30-year chapter. Yes, 30 years. Saturn, which is your planet, it takes 30 years to go around the sun. I mean, 29 if we're being that more precise. But your life sort of has these longer arcs. So between, let's say, March of 2020 to July of 2020, and then again at the start of the new year until March of 2023, it's about you. It's about sort of setting yourself up for this next big chapter. The thing is, when Saturn's in this part of the chart, it's a little hard to see the bigger picture because, like, you're just starting. You're just starting this story. But if you're an Aquarius, you might be feeling the weight of time, the weight of life, the weight of going older, the weight of responsibilities, and needing to take care of things and needing to take care of your life. I always tell people when Saturn shows up in your sign, you are in a time, 2 to 3 years, of getting your life in order. Saturn just wants order and balance. Meanwhile, you have Uranus at the bottom of the chart. Home, family. Maybe you've made a huge move in the past couple of years. I feel like I know so many Aquarians or Aquarius risings that have moved, from New York to LA or, overseas or whatever, like kind of these bigger moves. But you're in a time where you're having to get sort of awakened to, like, where's home? And maybe you're having to clear away the past. Maybe you're having to move to a place that will actually truly support you for this next 30 years because, home and family might kind of come with a lot of baggage and unfortunately a lot of pain. And maybe you need to kind of be someplace in sort of new proverbial soil, new proverbial foundation, new home that's actually going to be representative of this new time. So maybe you're feeling the tension between these two corners in your life. And then Pisces. So you have Uranus in a part of your chart that is about voice, communication, ideas, information, learning. And then it's directly interfacing with Saturn, which is in your last sign. It's this very spiritual, existential part of your chart. So how do you begin to give voice to your intuition? How do you begin to be able to describe your inner life, your inner world, your faith, your inner truth, your inner meaning? I will say Pisces, with Saturn in your last sign, where it will be again till March of 2023, you are shedding the past. You are coming, just like Aquarius is starting a 30-year cycle, you are ending a 30-year cycle, one that began in 1994. I know, it's crazy, but 1994 is 30 years ago. So you're coming to the end of this 30-year cycle, and as you get to the end of a great journey, you've surely accumulated a lot of things, and maybe you're starting to realize there's a lot of things you're holding on to that you do not need in this next 30-year story. This is also a time when it's very spiritual, existential. You are searching for meaning, you're searching for source, creator, God, whatever you want to call it. Or maybe you're feeling like the world is sort of slipping away because so this duality to this space. You have to kind of let things go. Maybe there is this kind of grieving process of letting go of the past. But I think that with Uranus trying to open up your voice, a really positive way of using this time is write about it, speak about it, work with a therapist, work with a friend. So that's quickly. Just want to go around the zodiac so you can see what's going on with this square. Do know to pay attention. What are the stories that are coming up for you January and February? Because when you have three aspects, especially if they're kind of dragging out over a longer period of time, the conventional wisdom is that you sort of get the beginning of the story at the first contact. You sort of see this build up, and then you have the second contact because the planet has gone retrograde, and it's a time to get another perspective. It's time to make different decisions, do things from a different angle, and then you get to the last contact, which in this case would be December 24th of 2021, and then it's like, well, okay, now what do we choose? How does it all come together? So something right now, something in February or even January, it might on some deeper level take until the end of the year to resolve or to find its setting or its place, whatever you want to call it. That's not to say that, we're in limbo to the end of the year, but I think that we can't look at this week, for example, without connecting it to what was going on in May of 2018, March of 2019, April of 2019, because that's when our Uranus and Taurus story opened. So that's, for those, of course, go back and listen for your sign or listen to your rising sign. I know people are like, well, which one's which? You want to listen to both because you are a multifaceted, multidimensional human being. In the show notes, at least there should be show notes. I might have forgot to put them in there. I'll put them in there later. There's my links for Saturn in Aquarius sign by sign and Uranus and Taurus sign by sign. So you can read those, and it kind of gives you more specifically where these areas, it's just going to recap what I said, but you can kind of take the time to see and to examine how this thread, this story is showing up in your life. Okay, so that's Saturn square Uranus. Now, the next day, February 18th, 2021, Sun goes into Pisces, and now we're at the end of the zodiac. So when we go into Pisces, we are now at the last water sign. There's something in astrology called elements. There are 4 elements: fire, earth, air, water. When you get to Pisces, water is emotions and feelings, it's connections, it's empathy. Now, Cancer is the first water sign, my feelings. Now you get to Scorpio, it's our feelings. There's that intimacy of the exchange of emotions and vulnerability of Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign. Then you get to Pisces, it's our feelings. It's the feelings of humanity. There's a broader sense of emotion. Something can happen on the other side of the world and we feel it. Something happens and it just kind of opens up our hearts. Pisces is meant for us to rediscover our compassion. It's meant for us to forgive and to let go. And there's also a shadow side of Pisces, so that's a sign where we sometimes get stuck in illusions. We get lost. There's addictions, there's suffering in Pisces, but there's also this narrative of redemption, this arc of forgiveness. The highest side of Pisces, and we were talking about the highest side of Aquarius earlier, the highest side of Pisces is the realm of saints. And and angels, for example. So there's this sort of duality in every sign, but I think that when you get to Pisces, that duality is much larger. The gulf is vaster, that's a word. When the Pisces symbol is two fishes swimming in different directions. So one is, Pisces reminds us that we are both physical, material, and we are non-physical, spiritual. These two fishes, they're going in different directions. When we die, God forbid, but I'm a Scorpio, I'm here to remind you that one day you will die. Your physical being returns back to the earth. Your spiritual being returns back to the non-physical world. So we are sort of living that duality when we get to Pisces. And then when we have the equinox and we start Aries season, the whole zodiac starts over. So it's this another loop around the sky. It's another time for us to live this archetypical journey again, to integrate all of its different lessons and facets. So when the sun switches over into Pisces later this week, it's a time to rest. It's a time to reflect. It's a time to get really deep within. We are now starting to close a year that began on March 19th, 2020. So that a lot has happened since March 19th, 2020. We need time to process. We need time to reflect. We need time to let go. And so that's what we're navigating as the sun goes into Pisces later this month. So something to think about. Lastly, Mercury will go direct this week. It turns direct 11 degrees of Aquarius on February 20th. I want to say 28th, February 20th. So Mercury turned retrograde on January 30th. Now it's turning direct. So it just may mean that as Mercury sort of works its way out in the sky, things are a little screwy this week. Sometimes when Mercury starts to come to a halt, it's like when Mercury turns retrograde, it sort of brings up a lot of confusion, or maybe even missed information that we've been looking for comes up, or something that's been on hold, or something that's been missing. If we see it, the package arrives finally, the email that we've been waiting for comes. So that's just something to keep in mind. My general philosophy, if this is what you've been doing already, is that if something is, if money is on the line and something's big and you have the luxury to wait till after Mercury turns direct on the 20th. Actually give it a few days. But I realize, and I've said this in I think a previous broadcast, and we don't always have the luxury to put our lives on hold. Mercury is retrograde 3 to 4 times a year, 3 to 4 weeks at a time. So that's kind of a large chunk of the year when you think about it. So that is your look at the astrology of February 15th to 21st, 2021. Happy belated Valentine's Day. Happy new moon. I know it's a new year for those that are celebrating the Lunar New Year. Enjoy. Have a wonderful week. Really start to pay attention to these bigger themes that I've been trying to map out for you, because they will be with you for a while. So until next week,